I never thought loneliness could be so loud until that winter night when a stranger's voice on the radio became the only sound that mattered. Funny thing is, I wasn't even supposed to be listening. My brother left his old aviation scanner in the garage, and I found myself tuning in, half out of boredom, half out of curiosity. Then I heard him, the pilot, with a voice that felt like a hand reaching straight into my chest. First, it was innocent. Just late-night chatter with a faceless voice over the static. He spoke about cloud banks and turbulence like they were old friends, and I laughed too hard at jokes that weren't that funny. But soon, the sound of his voice was stitched into every snowbound evening. He was the pulse in the silence of my empty house, the unexpected warmth in the middle of a brutal American winter. I told myself I wasn't falling for a voice. I told myself I wasn't that desperate. But some lies sound prettier than the truth. It wasn't until he slipped and mentioned the name of our town that my pulse faltered. What were the chances? A random pilot, flying routes across the Midwest, talking to me about winter skies and loneliness, and suddenly he was here in the same frozen little town where I grew up. When we agreed to meet, I prepared for disappointment. Maybe he'd be older, hardened. Nothing like the voice I'd built whole daydreams around. Maybe the magic was just static and imagination. What I didn't expect was to open the door and see the ghost of my childhood standing there in a bomber jacket, snow dusting his hair like he'd been carved out of the storm. "Ethan," I whispered. My breath caught like the air had turned solid. He blinked, recognition lighting his face like the flare of a match in the dark. "Jake? No way." The years folded in on themselves so fast I could barely breathe. Ethemy neighbor, my partner in crime from bike rides and fireflies. The boy who left at 15 when his parents moved to Chicago. The boy I swore I'd never forget, even when life buried me under jobs, losses, and regrets. And here he was, back from the sky, back from my past, smiling like he had no idea he'd just detonated the quiet little life I'd been building. We met again the next night and the night after. At first, it was easy, old jokes slipped back into place. Laughter carried us through. But underneath, tension hummed like a live wire. Every time his shoulder brushed mine, every time his eyes lingered a second too long, I felt it. The truth was ugly. I'd spent all winter falling for his voice without knowing it was him. Now that I did, every memory of us as kids twisted into something sharper. The way he used to race me down the block, the way he'd sit too close when we watched summer movies on the lawn. Had I been blind back then, or just too scared to admit what I felt? One night, in the dim light of his rented apartment, he admitted it first. "I used to like you, you know," he said, voice low, eyes avoiding mine. "Back when we were kids. I never said anything because, well, you don't say things like that in this town." The world tilted. Couldn't breathe. I wanted to laugh and scream and kiss him all at once. But instead, I whispered, "I liked you too." Silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the heater. Then his hand brushed mine, tentative, waiting. When our fingers laced together, I felt years of unsaid words collapse between us. Of course, nothing stayed simple. Small towns never let secrets rest for long. Whispers started, people saw us together too often, too close. My father, still stuck in his old world pride, cornered me with a look that burned. "You're not that kind of man, Jake. Don't make a fool of yourself." And Ethan, for all his courage in the air, still carried scars on the ground. Flying gave him freedom, but here, where everyone knew his name, he feared being trapped again by judgment, by expectations. Some nights he pulled me close. Other nights he pushed me away. I hated him for it. I loved him for it. Both at once, like fire licking the edge of ice. One bitter night, after a fight that left the walls shaking, he confessed what haunted him most. "I can't stay grounded, Jake. I don't know how to just be here. I leave, I fly because I'm terrified of staying. Terrified of being seen." And I told him, voice breaking, "I don't need you to stay forever. I just need you to choose me when you're here." For a long time, he said nothing. Then, slowly, he leaned in, pressing his forehead to mine like he was anchoring himself for the first time. "Maybe I've been flying in circles just to find my way back to you." Winter thawed. Snow melted into muddy streets, and the town woke from its frozen sleep. But we were different, changed. We weren't perfect. Some days, the weight of the town's stairs bore down hard. Some days, Ethan's urge to run pressed against my need for roots. But there was a balance in it. He taught me the sky didn't have to be a place of escape. I taught him the ground could be a place of belonging. On the last cold night before spring, we stood on my porch, hands entwined, watching the stars cut through the dark. "Remember when we used to catch fireflies in your backyard?" he asked, his voice softer than I'd ever heard. "Yeah," I said, smiling at the memory. "We thought if we caught enough, we could light up the whole world." He squeezed my hand. Maybe we already did. And in that moment, with the quiet hum of the town around us, the man who once was only a voice in the static kissed me like we'd wasted no time at all. Because maybe love doesn't always announce itself with clarity. Sometimes it hides in the snow, in the echoes of childhood laughter, in the silence between radio crackles. Sometimes, love waits years to find its way home. And when it does, it feels like flying, even with both feet firmly on the ground. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.